bad. Better. Turn this light on because it reflects off of that thing. Yep. That's got there. Okay, everyone. I'm just bringing it up live here so that come 6 o'clock, everything is ready to go for everyone tuning in at that time. So we had a successful SpaceX launch again, and they're pretty routine, those rascals, which is a good thing. I'm a big space freak, judging by what I see on the screen here, so a few others. Hi, Timothy. So yeah, it's that was a good thing. It's been kind of a busy week, and I'll go over things at 6 again, but had a number of things happening, and hey, Timothy again. This whole thing with the I break for bedrock claim is a new kind of ore body to me. I've never seen anything like that before, but apparently some other people have. Chris Georgie has, Chris Ralph has. They're apparently not unheard of, but they're kind of hard to find because they don't have the typical characteristics of a normal ore body. They don't have like a big quartz vein sitting out there or something like that. Sure, mainline, not a problem. If you want me to do it, as an official visit and give you a report on this, $150 a day plus expenses. If you just want me to swing by when I'm on a trip or something, I can get there when I get there. But yeah, I believe chloride is up there by north of Kingman, isn't it? If I'm not. No, I haven't had a top time, Chris. I was literally pulling up linoleum today. This wrist a little sore from scraping floors. Doing construction to pay the bills, and today was demo day. Me and Kirk were out there. It's a kitchen and entryway reflooring thing. So move the appliances out of the kitchen, pull up the floor, rip off the baseboard, pull out the flooring. Had like a laminate type flooring in the entryway. Clean the floor down to a nice clean concrete, and get ready for tomorrow when we start installing. Yeah, it's not much fun. Although if you peel the plastic top layer first and then soak it good with water, it will come up a lot easier. The other thing a lot of people don't know is if here's the edge of your scraper. A lot of people try and scrape the whole edge against the stuff. And what you need to do is take a shaving, whatever you can just push it through, just take a series of parallel shavings of it. I was getting, I don't know, 1.25 inches or so, like that. Not too bad, but at 1.25 inches a strip, it takes a while to get a kitchen clean.
You said you need vinyl, not linoleum.
I have no idea what it is. To me, a roll-out plastic flooring thing is linoleum. I could be vinyl.
There is old, dude. We call it lino. It's probably vinyl.
No pneumatic chisels, no power tools. Armstrong. That's right. Floor scraper by Armstrong. 4-inch razor scraper. And so I didn't have time to do much of anything else. Got home at 2, got things kind of ready, got some
Points
food,
out
took a nap.
linoleum was made out of linseed. Yep.
That's probably where the lin came from. I don't know.
Yeah. Linseed oil, linoleum.
Makes sense. Eva knows. Chris knows. I don't know squat.
I personally am a fan of asphalt tiling
No, she likes cork flooring.
and cork flooring. Yes.
Yes.
Cork
But-
and asphalt are it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And got some rocks here for you, Chris. I presume those will be big enough for your tests. That's the silver rock. I have one medium-sized one I give you, and then I got this one here.
Yeah, cork is great, and no, it's not cheap.
And that's a pretty good example of what this stuff looks like. It's pretty interesting. And it's got these inclusions. I'm not sure what they are, but they're not like nice, pretty crystals or anything.
That may be what the original rock looked like.
Here's one on the back that got kind of broke. But that's some pretty good looking stuff. Yeah, I presume that'll be big enough for you, Chris? Okay. Yeah, I would agree. It looks a lot like a phyllite, but under a microscope, it's not your typical looking phyllite.
That makes you look better on my screen.
I don't know. See, now I'm seeing a bunch of shiny up here. Okay.
Well,
so it's
your
coming down
forehead-
from
your
above.
forehead is always shiny anyway.
No, I mean, it's over illuminated. I think that's a more even illumination. What does it look like on your screen?
On my screen, that's a more even illumination, but your shirt is not day glow. Chris points out it looks like some very fine siltstone of some sort.
Could be. It's metamorphic.
Then well altered.
Yeah, it's definitely well altered.
You're gonna love it, Chris. It's really pretty.
Yeah.
I want a whole yard of it.
Yeah. I said there's a fair amount of it laying in that one little gully.
Mick Ellis says lino used to be laid here floating, usually on masonite with newspaper under the lino. When I took a floor up in my place, there were papers from 1939. I have seen that before, Mick.
Okay.
I have seen it before. That is how you used to lay old school lino.
Okay. Who knows? Say, I'm just here for the ride. I'm the, what do they call that in the news? I'm the talent.
Bear
Just a
is not
face.
familiar with really old housing. Most of the stuff that he and Kirk work on is that crappy new housing. That's
Yeah,
around
pretty
here.
much. Oldest paper I ever found was 1898 Los Angeles Times special Spanish American War edition in the bottom of the old Senator mine near Yuma, Arizona. Pretty much undamaged. It was just like the front page sheet. It was the full sheet, front, back sort of thing. So we recovered it and gave it to the mine owner. I thought that was
Newer
really
than
cool.
70s era stuff, Chris. I mean, most of the houses down there in Sahuarita are newer than that.
Yeah, I did the kettle corn for their grand opening ceremony, so that puts it somewhere in the mid 90s at the latest, at the earliest. So yeah, all those houses. It's big development down there now, and upper middle class stuff. The 6 feet from your neighbor. That typical 2-story, modern stick frame housing, stucco, tile roofs, that sort of thing. Oh yeah. Yeah, it would be a cool thing to frame. It was really awesome. It was like, whoa, check it out.
Mainline needs some rock assay. You want to direct them to our
Okay.
friend Hiddle?
Yeah. Okay, mainline. I don't know for sure how many samples you have or how much money you need to save. You need to scrimp every penny no matter how long it takes or whatever. I'll presume you want reasonable price, fast assays, and double check results. I mean, this is someone we've had double checked a couple of different times. And guy's name is Lawrence Hittel, P.O. Box 33, Jamestown, Colorado, 80455. And his phone number is 303-442-7157. And I'm going to hold it up to the camera so you can see it.
And you need to send a check.
Yeah, and you need to send a check with it. So there it is, basically on the top of line there. That's not part of it. Probably ought to make it just him. The ALS Global will do the assaying too. There's a $30 per batch fee for accounting, which will pretty much wipe out any savings for just a couple of samples. And they're much, much slower because they're a big lab. I mean, they get samples in by the pallet loads. So that's it. So did you get that main line? Do you need me to hold that up anymore or not? Value engineered construction. Yeah.
Craptacular. The perfect word.
Pretty much.
The new housing on Davis Mountain Air Force Base is just as bad, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, mainline.
Hiya, John.
Yeah. We used him all summer up in Montana. Guy's fast. We would usually send samples off on a Monday afternoon. We'd have our assays back by Friday when I was headed back into the field. So we're getting guidance almost in real time. Did a nice job. Say we've cross-checked him with some other stuff. Seems to be on top of it. Just got another cross-check too. I sent a composite sample off to ALS Global, and I selected some of the higher grade samples from his assays from a particular zone, sent them off, came back about 1.5 ounces to the ton. So yeah, seems to be pretty good.
John checked in from Texas.
John? From up there? from the what do you call it? Oh my gosh, I forgot the name of that. Pacific? Was something or other Pacific mine, wasn't it, John?
San Antonio.
Okay, maybe a different John. It's I think it was Austin that he was from.
Well, his picture is next to his name on your chat.
Well,
there.
yeah, it's fine, and it's a little teeny thing like that, and I can't see it. You know my eyes. Does it look familiar? Yeah. Yeah, be aware, folks. Supply chain problems are real, and if they start going into more lockdowns, it could really get ugly. So, you know, if you haven't stocked up, it's maybe your last chance for a while.
Been telling people for years, when Armageddon hits and the price and toilet paper can't be had for love nor money.
Amen. Yeah, John, I understand. Same phenomenon here.
Amazon sells do-it-yourself bidet kits, people.
Unfortunately, when you're an international celebrity such as myself, sometimes you just can't, make do with a little picture. It's
Chris says it's mountain money.
So anyhow, I'll suffer, okay? What time is it now? Okay, so everyone's had a chance to get here. Happy prospecting, and keep it safe out there. And hi, I'm Keith Bowen, and this is Hard Rock University. And where am I anyway? Oh, that's right, Tucson, live from the Adobe Hovel. Okay.
Wearing the chartreuse work shirt today.
Yep. Trying to find something different to wear each time. You know the thing. Okay, let's see. First of all, a little bit of news. Brother's still looking to sell his MineLab GPX 5000. It's somewhere around 2,500. This is a bit of the silver rock. or the silver shiny, right? It's not silver. Looks like a phyllite or it's metamorphic. That shine is almost certainly from a whole bunch of little pieces of mica in there. It's really pretty stuff. But anyhow, so that's the show and tell. And I need a little help in terms of I need a way to get USGS topographic map information where I can just type in a lat lon and I can see a topo map on my computer. I know you can get an overlay for Google Earth or this or that. What's the simplest one? All I need to do is be able to type in a lat lon and get a topographic display that I can look at and scroll and zoom in and out and everything.
And bear in mind, he's on an old laptop that runs Windows 7.
Yeah. And, well, Eva's got a better computer, I think. Now, Chris Georgie's done some experimentation. I presume you don't mind me telling you about telling everyone about the fix you found for the slimes. Looking for something that basically will break them up so that the individual particles would act as individual particles instead of sticking together and forming agglomerations and this and that and the other. And he said oxalic acid seemed to work pretty well for my particular slimes that I sent him. It allows everything to operate independently of everything else.
Tell them about the bacon.
Huh?
Tell them about the bacon.
That was this week, wasn't it? The bacon grease? That's right. I forgot.
And
Yeah.
Chris says it's not magic, just basic chemistry.
Yes, I know.
For some of us, basic chemistry is magic, dude.
Yeah.
Come on now.
The bacon grease thing, as you saw the video, did seem to work reasonably well. Interestingly enough, for whatever reason, on this particular gold at least, it works much better for the microfine gold than for the fine gold. I mean, the stuff in the 100 mesh range, etc., it's really not sticking too well to the bacon grease. Not sure why. Maybe the layer I put on was a little bit too thin, but I mean, I put enough on that it should have stuck in places and it didn't do too well. I did try degreaser to dissolve the grease later and see how well that would work. Didn't work too well. An industrial degreaser that we use a lot in the kettle corn business to clean things didn't seem to work very well. Gasoline worked just fine. So
Chris says, yeah, I'd expect the finer stuff gets a better contact angle.
could be.
And you may also need some deflock using sodium tripolyphosphate.
Well, that's possible. I just the
When we win the lottery, we can hire Chris to be our chemical
There you
person.
go. The motor oil seemed to work a little better than the bacon grease. Must admit, but it was fun.
Well, we still have to try butter, and we need to try olive oil, and we need to try corn oil, and Chris points out soap making supplies.
Yeah, I'd like to try the lanolin. That's one I'd like to try.
I think shea butter.
I don't know. It'd be hilarious. But anyhow, so that experiment had limited success. The nice thing was it did work really well on the microfine gold. Interesting possibilities there. On the concentrator itself, I'm just trying different configurations of bed thickness and oscillation frequency and things like that to see what's optimal. Let's see. Now,
Backcountry Navigator Pro, huh, DD?
okay. Backcountry Navigator Pro, we'll try that.
Hi, DD.
Hello, Navigator. Thank you. Navigator Pro. As I get older, my spelling gets even worse than it used to be.
Chris says you might try it on a flat sheet like a Miller table.
Yeah, there's all kinds of possibilities. I think it might work well on a cleanup device more than a production device, but it might work very well for that. Anyhow, yeah, the memory isn't what it used to be, but then nothing else is either. As a little aside, have you guys noticed that the older you get, how much everything starts sounding like sex? Oh, yeah, oh, that kind of stuff. It's amazing. But
Sean
anyhow.
Bellum says hello and greetings from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Hey, how's it going, Sean?
Chris says an undercurrent sluice with a grease plate used to be common.
Oh, that makes sense. That would make sense. So these are the sort of things that,
He also points out you can try the National Geographic topo. The issue I have with it is the maps are a little dated, but they are free.
Well, the other thing about the dated maps, though, is they will tend to show more of the actual mines. They're kind of purging those as time goes on. So that's not a bad idea. National Geographic topo. Nat Geo topo. And yeah, the older maps are usually better. By the way, for those of you who don't know, my mom used to actually make those topographic maps. Back in the 60s, my brother and I spent many a weekend day sitting there putting paper clips together over at the United States Geological Survey office in Tucson, Arizona at the U of A, while my mom was sitting there on the light table drawing the maps.
Chris says you can download individual quads from the National Map site.
Is it nationalmap.com or .org or something like that?
Stereo pairs, he says, whatever those are.
Well, I know what a stereo pair is. She didn't actually work with the stereo pairs. She was pretty much drawing the final map. Somebody else had done the tricky part. A stereo pair is when an airplane flies parallel paths taking pictures of the ground from known locations, and then from those angles, they can tell the elevation of the various points on the ground point by point. And that's how they used to tell the three-dimensional shape of the ground.
Chris says he
in large
believes
areas.
it's .gov for the National Map website.
Nationalmap.gov. Okay, nationalmap.gov. I know the USGS has one too. But yeah, the stereo pair, the calculating stuff, she didn't do that. She did the final. I remember her doing a lot of lettering with the Leroy. All the little stuff you see printed on there. Yeah, well, somebody in the old days used to have to print it. My mom. It'd be on a kind of like a translucent plastic, and the eraser was like a razor knife, and you would just literally gently scrape the ink off.
Labeling. Probably.
Yeah, that. I recall mostly that. I don't recall, and it's been a long, long time, much in the way of actually drawing contour lines or whatever. But yeah, I got my first introduction to the cadastral survey method, township section range, when I was 7. Mom took me to class. She was taking classes to get her PhD. And
Hiya, blind sight.
And so, yeah, I was in one of her classes at the college at age 7, and that's when I first heard about it. Yeah. Yeah, I already ate dinner. That's right. One of the jars of chicken parmesan we were making didn't quite seal properly, so we just ate it.
Chris says, and you still get confused by some of the descriptions? Well, he's old, dude.
Well, description of what? I mean, the maps are usually pretty straightforward.
Oh, John, the chicken parmesan came out amazing.
Yeah.
So did the meatballs and the meatloaf.
Yeah, we're just kind of stocking up on food supplies here, and when we go camping this way, we have some, really tasty stuff, real easy. Meal in a jar instead of meal ready to eat, in a bag.
Chris says legal land descriptions.
Oh, you mean like a point hither and go hence so many feet in such and such a direction, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that wasn't it there. It's basically just the cadastral, township section range system that they were overviewing that class. But I did take a surveying class one time too, as a 1-semester survey class. This is mainly for college credit, but this was after I'd been in mining a while. So
Being that
needless to say, I
aced
aced it.
Half of the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter of section 19 of blah.
Yeah, that was more in the surveying course, not mom's class, or at least not that I remember.
Blindside's doing the same before the crash happens. Good idea, Blindside.
Yeah. Whether it's a crash or just disruptions, the system we have for supply is so interdependent that a disruption in one place and commodity can cause secondary disruptions that aren't, immediately obvious to the untrained eye, so to speak. Like, why the hell are we not? Well, if you don't pull up stumps in Canada, you don't make the pulp for the toilet paper.
Blindside says, not that it makes a difference, but I've stocked a year of food. Have you got the toilet paper?
Yeah. Yeah. You shouldn't be mentioning that right now, Blindside. Well, whoever the hell Blindside is, but yeah.
Blindside is Blindside.
Yeah.
They're here every week.
Yeah. But yeah, try and find an address. So he's pretty anonymous in that way, which is good. Well, I think a lot of people have. The bozo in the kitchen right now making his dinner. He's trying to start a prepping business where he teaches people this stuff, because he's been a paranoid prepper for ages. Kind of like us. And all of a sudden, people are going like, "Well, I need to prep," and it's like, well, it's a little late. When the hurricane's on the radar track,
and now that
it's not the time to buy stuff.
Has been deplatformed.
Yeah, you're right. Canning jars are in very short supply, and the lids too, which is more important in the long run.
Yeah. By the way, people, do not buy lids from Amazon. They're still having problems with counterfeit lids.
Don't ask me why you couldn't make a decent lid instead of a non-functional counterfeit lid, but oh well.
Oh yeah, Blindside. All kinds of supply chain weirdness going on right now.
We'll kind of be careful when we discuss these sort of things, because say we know 2 people have been deplatformed already for no apparent reason. And so we'll just have to be careful. Remember the other day when my live stream was interrupted and deleted from the web? Wonderful times we're living in here. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Back to mining. Okay. Tellurides up at Montana Prospect B just got another multi-element analysis back. That gives you an idea. When I say ALS can be slow for small people, when did I leave Montana? When did we just get the results 2 days ago? Yeah, that's what, almost 2 months? October, 1.5 months? Yeah, 6-7 weeks at least. But it had tellurium in it. According to Chris, if you have tellurium, it's almost always bound up with the precious metals. And when I was doing the panning, one of the things I was getting was what I was calling was chocolate brown heavies. Because of the way they behaved in the pan, you could tell that they were dense. They weren't gold, they weren't shiny yellow or anything, but they were a chocolate brown. And according to Chris, when you have arsenic, which we did 2,000 parts per million arsenic, you quite often have tellurides. And tellurides don't look like gold. So those chocolate brown heavies might have been something called calaverite, named for Calaveras County. And I believe it's like 60% gold by weight or something, but it can look chocolate brown. If you Google it, you can see it. You know, parts of that specimen look chocolate brown. So if that's the case, then hopefully the recoveries can be improved some, but we shall see. But be aware, according to Chris, if you got arsenic, look for tellurides, and tellurides don't necessarily look like gold. There's another one that's, I forget what he called it, but anyhow, sylvanite or something, but it's got silver in it also, and it can look like almost like an arsenopyrite, you know, silvery, shiny, brittle looking stuff. So that's something to be aware of. Yeah, well, Chris, it may be longer than that. Yep. Chris Saucier, pressure canner.
Yep. I just answered him. I know people that have been waiting for that long or longer.
Yeah. Easily.
Somebody just got his the other day on Reddit, and there was a major celebration. He'd been waiting for 4.5 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Patrick asked if you have any ore samples you can show us.
Not in my hands. When I take a break, I can go out back and grab a quick something. Sure. But no, I don't even have any more concentrates in terms of a actual can of it. But here's the few tests I've run this week. Again, I'm seem to be getting about a gram of gold in rich cons for about every 100 kilograms of ore that I process, which is not a bad recovery, but I'm still waiting for the assays to come back.
Patrick asked if that's from Montana. I believe that is.
This is from Ryan stuff by
Ryan's
Tucson.
stuff.
Yeah, there's a gentleman named Ryan that has a mine within a couple hours of here. And that's just from the dumps. The dumps are running 1/3 to 1/2 ounce to the ton. So he and his brother, he and his son go out there from time to time and shovel a bunch of rock into buckets and haul it.
Blindside
Give it to me and I process
it. Many of us feel victorious after removing lead from the environment while prospecting.
Lead? Not that much. Mercury maybe when you're dredging, but I haven't recovered that much lead.
Jeannie says US Topo Maps is free to use.
That's the name of it, US Topo Maps. Okay. US Topo Maps. You pulled tons of it out of the creek. What, sinkers or bullets or something else, Chris? Or are you talking the mercury? The mercury, in some places, there's a lot of it in the sediments from old mining. Lead, yeah. But out here in the desert, the population density is so low, and not a lot of placer mining, not a lot of
I
fishing.
consider mercury to be more problematic than lead anyway.
I would think so.
Because mercury is more immediately toxic.
Well, I don't think the lead is made easily bioavailable.
Chris says no mercury in his creeks, but the other side of the hill, he's pulled pounds of it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me, of course. Let's say sometimes the mercury is pretty abundant.
Oh, my question is, what do you do with it when you salvage it?
Well, if you're a gold miner, you usually put it in a bottle and keep it. Oh, let's see. Now, another interesting phenomenon here is what some people are calling pocket gold. When we went to I Break for Bedrock and their claim up there, and did some more thorough examinations. The video is up this week. It does appear that there's relatively coarse to coarse gold coming out of the bedrock directly with very little fine to microfine gold associated with it. Now, this is a phenomenon I've never seen before, okay? I am not the most knowledgeable person in the world. I haven't, had loads and loads of classes, nor have I been hands-on active in gold mining for my entire life or whatever. But anyhow, this is a phenomenon I hadn't seen before, but apparently it's not unknown, and in some places it's not terribly uncommon. There's apparently a variety of processes that can work together to create fairly coarse gold and then isolate it either by removing any of the really fine gold. Again, one process that was told me was, it takes a long time to build up the coarse crystals, and you'll have, coarse crystals and fine stuff and everything. And then if a set of solutions comes through there that's basically dissolving gold now, it'll only dissolve a little bit off the surface of the big chunks, but it'll completely dissolve the really finely divided stuff, leaving only the coarse left.
William Hansen has a question for you. What do you think of the high V rubber matting under half-inch raised ribs?
For placer gold, it might work fine. I'm really not that much knowledgeable about sluices and the details of different mattings. I know they're coming up with a lot of these different rubber mattings now, some of which seem to be, better than maybe even the old miner's moss and this and that and the other, but I'm not an expert on that. And so I can't really give you a knowledgeable answer to the question, although it does seem like the variety and detail of the new mattings that they're coming out with for particular gold, particular mat seems to work really well. So that's a nice improvement, but it also adds complexity because, like, which mat do I need now?
Chris points out the deep V stuff tends to work well in the flat or under standard ripples.
Okay, believe me, I'd go for that. I start to use that. Okay.
Yeah, Chris, I'm seeing the same thing over here. The video is seriously trailing the comments. I keep clicking on the very end of the video because I'm like 3 or 4 minutes behind Bear. It's rather ridiculous.
That's strange. Anyhow, let's say I'm working with the real microfine gold that will generally get blown out of almost any sluice. That's what I'm focusing on. That's what I'm trying to recover. So I haven't really been doing much experimentation on that or dream mat or anything like that.
Chris says it's pretty good where he is.
Okay.
Meaning the video, but I'm seeing a big difference.
How many
Rick
people?
Jobling says you're being censored, mayhaps. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
How many people I got on right now, Lou?
24.
24 shouldn't be that much. I was watching.
Jay Johnson says it ain't lagging in East Tennessee. Cool.
I was watching Everyday Astronaut today on the rocket launch, and as it got closer, it just started lagging badly. I think that was just, he was being overwhelmed. Whatever channel whatever resources his channel had on YouTube were just being overwhelmed. The SpaceX wasn't lagging at all.
Dee Dee says you might want to try a honeycomb silicone mat for catching the microfine flower gold.
And that's a possibility. I certainly haven't given up the thought. I'm trying some other stuff right at the moment. This is a nice thing about having Ryan's ore. I mean, I've got essentially an unlimited supply.
And Chris says,
And
have
that's
you ever
great.
tried running the microfine over a sluice with enhanced velocity flow?
Not exactly sure what you mean by enhanced velocity flow, Chris. But yeah.
Really fast.
So I really don't know on that one. Oh, by the way, oh, well, look at this.
Bringing in 3 different kinds from 3 different areas.
And where did these come from, Tom?
This came, I believe, from the new buckets.
The new buckets? Okay.
This one came from the new bucket. This came from
in front of the Grumman.
This came from the bucket by the bathroom and by the buckets by the bathrooms. And then this came from the on top of that shelf right there by those buckets.
Chris says high velocity using pump or elevated supply with a low gradient on the box.
Okay.
And Rick Jobling says, been watching Big Al Robertson with his silicone mats. They seem to be the go. Blindside says silicone loves gold. Well, silicone's easy to find.
Let's see. Believe it or not, the webcam there is much better than my eyes. This has clearly been weathered on 2 faces. I do not believe this is ore. I don't know. This is, it's got some iron in it. Those 2 faces have been weathered. These are new fractured. Tom just went outside for us and got us some rocks to show. Now this, on the other hand, this is quartz. Looks a lot like the stuff from Ryan's mine. It might not be, but this looks really, really similar to his stuff. Not much mineralization apparent, and yet it's running like 1/3 of an ounce to the ton or so.
Steve Bliss says, I'm new to gold mining, but I found microfine gold. Well, what do you consider microfine, Steve?
This is vuggy quartz. Those are vugs, clearly. Some of them, I don't know if we can see the pixelization, but there's one right there that looks almost square. These would be where the pyrites have weathered out. This is Ryan's. This is some of the new buckets that just showed up according to Tom. So this would be from Ryan's mine here. And again, this does not look anything really exciting, but it does run, say, 1/3 an ounce to the ton. So kind of a classic gold ore in terms of quartz, pyrite, and gold, but not much in the way of pyrite. It's mostly just quartz with some gold in it. One of the richest samples I ever saw was it was 40 ounces to the ton, and looked almost like that. You know, it was a little grayer than that, as I recall, but that's it. I was running 40 ounces to the ton.
Steve says
holy
the
crap
gold he's getting is fine enough you can't see it with the naked eye.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Chris Georgie says disseminated pyrites, nothing massive. Yeah.
In that 40 ounce to the ton stuff, I don't even see disseminated. I mean, it wasn't even iron stained. It was hilarious. It
Chris
just
says the Carlin deposit looks like nothing. Yep.
Yeah, but I don't think it's 40 ounces to the ton. That was the shocking thing. Not that there was gold in it, but I mean, it just pegged my test. I looked at it, I'm going, what the hell is going on here? And when we send it off for assay, it's like, well, that explains it. You know, I had a test that was sensitive down to, 0.01 ounces per ton. It was a kind of a calorimetric test, kind of, sort of. And I say it just went bat crazy. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, Dee Dee told me where to get some good silicone mats on Amazon. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, Al Robertson, actually, we have a mutual friend in common. But yeah. Let's see. And Steve Bliss, are you getting it out of hard rock, I presume? Because gold fine is not usually found in placer, but it should exist in placer in places, you know? So if you could illuminate me on that, I'd appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, I use silicone a lot, just caulking compound.
Definitely
Okay.
hard rock. It's in quartz.
Yeah. What kind of grade do you have, Steve? If you don't mind me asking. I mean, what's your general situation there? I mean, grade, type of ore body, things like that. But yeah, that's very common in hard rock. That's why that stuff over there. And hey, Agam, how's it going? I didn't. I've been pretty busy this week. Did anyone else look into Newfoundland or the Atlantic gold exploration? Well, the live
Steve
indicators.
still needs to get it assayed.
Okay. Do you have an assayer you got used? Was Steve the one this morning? I mean, when we first started, I don't think so.
Nope.
Okay. Yep.
And Chris Saucier says that's what he'll be looking for in Alaska, low sulfide gold quartz veins. I've seen some awesome USGS reports.
Yeah.
Great stuff up in Alaska. Want to go there.
Yeah, Steve, if you need an assayer, I've got one that we've been using. He's quick and reasonably priced.
Blindside was playing around with lead, brass, and steel today.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, that's a good way.
Steve doesn't have an assayer. Any recommendations? Hello.
Absolutely. I need to make something here.
Well, if you'll hand me your
So let me just.
clipboard.
Yeah.
And a
Okay.
Sharpie.
Yeah, because then we'll just have him on there.
Yeah,
And
hand me a Sharpie. And
so when people ask, we can do that. I have his permission to give out his name and information. Yeah, his name's Lawrence Hiddle in Colorado, and we've double checked him numerous times. I don't know about numerous, but several times against other assayers to make sure that they confirmed his results. And they always have, and he's fast. I mean, if he gets it on Monday, he'll have his results by Friday, has been my experience. Let's see, some of the static trains. Okay. It should exist because placer comes from hard rock. That's always been what I call the fine gold paradox. In hard rock, like 99+% of the gold is really, really fine. And very, very little is even visible to the naked eye. I worked in gold mines for 10 years and never saw a speck of gold in the rock. And yet, placer gold exists in abundance in places. And that maybe there's two different ore formation paradigms at work here. The thing about the pocket gold is, since it isn't in an easily visible structure, it's not easy to spot. I mean, looking at that hillside over at Eyebreak for Bedrock, there's no reason to pick out that spot from any other to have gold. And yet we bracketed it a few feet uphill, nothing, 10 feet downhill, nothing. We didn't go the other directions, but it's pretty localized. So how the heck are you going to find it?
Chris says microfine acts very different in water than larger particles. Transport models are entirely different, except for pocket gold, which we have very large gold forming in.
Well, yeah, he's talking about placers. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. Let's see how this works here. There we go. I can't read it because it's backward on my monitor for some reason, but everyone else can see it properly. So anyhow, that's the assayer that I usually use. It's $45 an assay, including sample prep. You have to send a check with the with your samples, payment in advance, and you get your results quick. So anyhow, hopefully that's enough time. Oh, if you didn't get that, let me know and I'll put it back up there. So Steve, did you get that? Hydrothermal vein, part of old ancient riverbed. I'm finding polished river stones. Well, that would be, I'm a little confused because a hydrothermal vein would be generally in bedrock. And you're not going to find polished river stones in bedrock. So I'm confused, Steve. I'm not sure what's going on here, but the picture is not making sense to me. Grab samples came up to 56 grams per ton gold. That's nice. Nice, Agam. That is really good. But anyhow, yeah, rounded river cobbles and a quartz vein would generally not be found together. You could have a conglomerate that was cemented and then later fractured and a hydrothermal vein emplaced in it. Yeah, I've got an email. Oh, let's see. Pretty easy to remember too. Hard rock you at outlook.com. There's my email on the bottom, hardrockyou@outlook.com. Pretty easy to remember. And I check that email every day when I've got internet. And I also talk to people on the phone. If we need more bandwidth, it's pretty easy. Oh, Steve, yeah. If it's Northern California, Chris he's up there, Forest Hill, basically. He's pretty close to you. Dozens of old rivers running across and down the divide, cutting across all kinds of rich veins. So what you're saying, Chris, is that you have a river channel cutting across bedrock where there's an old vein in the bedrock, correct? You're welcome, Steve. Be happy to chat. Snowing and blowing in Montana today. See, I told you, Eva, we escaped just in time.
And
they have solid dihydrogen monoxide falling from the atmosphere.
And I told you you are unnecessarily negative when it comes to snow.
Duval Leslie. Well, hi. You're welcome. We just try and educate here.
I'll be back there in a few minutes, Barry.
And I this gets me, interesting stuff to do, and get to help people and have fun at the same time. And we just started this, live from the Adobe Hovel about a month ago or something, and it's turning out to be kind of fun. Everyone just sits around the fireplace, so to speak, and yaks. See, I told you, Told you, Steve. Chris knows his stuff. Let's see. Well, Marion, I don't care if it's big or just a lot of small, as long as the weight is there, you know? In terms of the prospects of Yellowstone going off, I'm not terribly worried about any time soon. It's extremely well monitored, and they should be getting a lot of indications significantly before any actual eruptions occur, which do not appear to be occurring at the present time. There are changes in the system, but doesn't look to be the kind that are imminently indicative of an eruption. For example, in Mount St. Helens, the north flank expanded 600 feet before it blew up. So I say it's very, very well monitored because, yes, if it does go off, it's going to be a very, very bad thing. So, yeah. Yeah, Xeox. I would tend to agree with you. Let's see, I live in Paradise. I'm familiar with Forest Hill. A lot of gold around there. We got shut down again in New Mexico. Yeah. I got a question: is how being out in the middle of nowhere by yourself, is that going to transmit COVID? Anyhow, better be quiet. Let's see. Recently, what would I say? Yeah, Xeox. I suspect something like that, but it would be in the neighborhood of a number of years, I'm sure, from the state it's currently in before it went into a super eruption. It would have a lot of changes. How did I become so knowledgeable? I'm just curious and read a lot and do stuff and have fun. I tend to be kind of an experimenter / inventor. I'll sit there and go, well, I need to do such and such, and look around and nobody makes the tool to do it. And so I have to figure out how to do it myself. It's very annoying at times. But in terms of knowledgeable, I'm so-so. Okay. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not a super good geologist, a super good mineralogist, a super good orogenicist, a super good metallurgist. But what I am is I'm a good hands-on generalist, and I can apply a lot of different ideas to a problem, and I can do it on a small scale. The people with the really big knowledge work for big companies. Yep. Do I have any interest in geochemical prospecting? Not particularly myself. I got nothing against it, but I've got so much stuff to do that I'm not looking for too much at the moment else. And the concept generally of geochemical prospecting would be for the larger size ore bodies, because that's what gives a large enough signature that you can really say, hey, there's something there, instead of just an anomalous sample. Yeah. Saying have fun. Yes, I have fun doing what I love with the one I love too. That's another thing that I'm very, very blessed with. Little one over there likes to go out in the middle of nowhere and stuff. When this last trip with I Break for Bedrock, I think that was the most serious off-roading you've ever done, right?
Yeah.
It was
not a fan, it's a guy thing.
It was a little bumpy at times, but there was one spot where literally the road's about 6.5 feet wide, with a vertical rock wall on one side and a vertical rock drop off on the other. That was a little spooky. I like to have a little more room. Bugs would, I mean, the minor bago, I do not think it could actually make it, just because too wide for that particular path. But once we got up there, and we were doing our thing, processing samples, she was just sitting there looking at the rocks and taking it easy and kind of meditating and enjoying and being extremely patient. So it works out well. Okay, and I missed that one. Let me scroll back up. Somebody had something there. Vein is kind of a clay material with a layer of black. The gold was right against that. It was like aluminum foil, just absolutely beautiful. You get pieces the size. Oh, that's great, Pat. Very good. That's some good stuff. Yep. Love to see that someday if I'm in the area.
Whereabouts?
I don't know. Ask Pat Dennehy. Whereabouts, Pat? Recent time.
I'm just catching up on the Donald. I'll be back with you in a minute.
Hang on one wheel at a time. That doesn't work too well on the minor Bago. It outweighs me a lot. Stream is tripping out and buffering badly. Bummer. But yeah, it wasn't serious off-roading to get there. Not radical off-roading. I mean, this is not the Rubicon or anything. But yeah, it was less than ideal, you know. Okay, telescope. Okay, first thing is, what's your budget? And you're not going to see stuff in a telescope like you would expect to, because your eyeballs are not able to gather light like a camera does over time. So like if you look in an 8-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope and look at Saturn, it's all basically shades of gray, very little color at all to it. The new telescopes are very good for the price you pay. What is your basic budget that you're looking at? But Newtonian reflectors generally are a pain to use. They're just the geometry of it is not comfortable. You do want to have an equatorial mount with a clock drive if you want to do any kind of serious looking at all. Certainly, if you're going to do photography, it's an absolute necessity. The equatorial mount with a clock drive completely compensates for the motion, or you can have a computer-controlled alt-azimuth mount, which is what a lot of the newer telescopes do with modern computers and such. These Schmidt-Cassegrains and stuff, I mean, they kind of align themselves via GPS and such, so it makes it a lot easier to align and track objects. Probably nothing less than about a 5-inch if you can afford it. You might also consider the possibility of finding a local telescope club, astronomy club, and looking at through some of the stuff that they have when they have one of their meetings. They'll have something set up, you know, and that'll give you a better idea of exactly what you can actually see with a real telescope that you can use. But most of the pictures you see, well, all of the pictures you see are done with time exposures and filters and stuff. But a modern, like 8-inch alt-azimuth, computer-controlled alt-azimuth Schmidt-Cassegrain can get you pictures almost as good as the 200-inch Palomar could 50 years ago. It's really amazing. A lot of it has to do with the charge coupled devices being much more light sensitive than film is. And so that's where the real, I mean, there's been two real breakthroughs. Number one is microelectronics and computer-controlled alt-azimuth mounts. That makes it a lot easier. And the charge-coupled devices in place of film allows you to do an amazing job of taking pictures with essentially the same optical unit compared to a film picture. But that's it. But I mean, you can spend as you want to. if you're really interested, I think there's something called Sky City in New Mexico or something. It's like western New Mexico and southeastern Arizona have a couple of small village type things where basically you can rent a house for the weekend. It's a little small house. It has its own observatory there, and there's no street lights allowed, nothing like that. It keeps very dark skies. So if you can afford that, it's a tremendous experience, but you would really want to have an experienced viewer with you. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting your money because you're going to be spending all your time frustrated because you just don't know how to do stuff. But if you get into it, you really like it, that's something you could do that can really give you an interesting experience. Another thing that is possible, for example, I don't know now with COVID, I presume it's impossible, but the Kitt Peak National Observatory, you could literally rent their 18-inch telescope for a night with an observer, with an expert. And it was not horribly expensive. I forget what it was, but I mean, it was like, $200 or $300 a person per night, something like that. Not bad. Schmidt Cassegrains have a big problem with planetary. And what would they be, Chris? I'm unaware of it. What do you look for to identify bull quartz? Well, Aries, bull quartz basically means big monolithic quartz, just white, unmineralized quartz, and that's it. Bull quartz is not worth anything. It's basically crap. It's quartz. Let's see. Most astronomy clubs have monthly star parties. Exactly. And that would be a great place to get started. Get an astronomy club, go to one of their star parties and stuff, because that will get you in. It's like buying a gun. People go, well, I want to buy a gun. Well, what kind of gun? Well, I'm not sure. There's a lot of guns, and it's a very individual choice. So same thing with telescopes and observing. I also found that personally, I love astronomy, but I don't like the process of observing that much. It's not my thing. And so you get a little better understanding of your own psychology too, without shelling out a lot of money and finding out, that $5,000 meat I just bought just is a good paperweight. So that's what I would recommend, Matt. Yeah. And also if you have an image inverter, you can also use it for looking terrestrially too. No, Aries, you don't look for bull quartz to find gold. You look for vuggy quartz or iron stained quartz. Bull quartz is just clean quartz. And that's rarely where you find the gold at. The gold is usually associated with the other minerals in the quartz. But that's bull quartz. Bull quartz is just big, solid, chunky, quartz.
Nice
big,
little
solid
white stuff.
Yeah, clean, white quartz. Not usually what you're looking for. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. I used the word that I'm not supposed to. Sorry. Shh. How many power microscope do you need? You can usually see the microfine gold in a 10 power hand loop. The smaller stuff will be nothing more than little points of light in the pan. Any standard binocular, rock microscope, the kind that's used to look at the surface of something in the microscope as opposed to a transmission microscope where you're running the light through something. Any of those will be powerful enough to do what you can do, unless you're an expert, in which case you're using things like electron microprobes and stuff like that. Yeah, Rick. Rose quartz. This is from Dee Dee's claim. Yeah, just a nice little pink. Yeah, reds, browns, brownish yellow, rust color is usually the best stuff. Yeah, Aries, with all the YouTube stuff, it is. There's a lot of people on YouTube who are trying to make money doing videos on YouTube. And so your quality can radically vary. I try and do mining and just happen to make videos of it. And so it gives a different kind of perspective on it.
Yeah, Zio, the bull quartz with the golden matrix is really gorgeous. When we have a gem show in town, it's been canceled this year. We see a lot of it.
Yeah, but it's rare stuff. Yeah.
No, there's always plenty at the gem show, but there's no gem show this year.
And then Chris has a suggestion. When you find large bull quartz structure, walk along the sides of it and look for intersecting veins. They can be quite rich. Yes. Did you ever run metal detectors? I usually don't. I have a very nice one that it's my brother's, but it's not. Metal detectors aren't ideal for hard rock gold. It has to be really, really rich before it'll set off a metal detector. And so it's, not the most useful tool for what I'm doing. Now, I break for bedrock. They're placer miners, and they use them all the time because they're in the desert.
Old Ned. Yeah, minertainment. It's definitely minertainment around here.
See, now I don't even see. Oh, there's Ultmed. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, my feed is lagging and acting weird over here, people.
Telescopes explain in detail on what to buy on YouTube. Yeah, they can give you the details, but if you don't know what you want, it doesn't do you much good, Yeah, that's right. Xeox. XRF, it'd be nice if it would. It would really, really be nice. But so far, not the tech isn't there yet. Too much signal to noise ratio, and the tech just hasn't been able to figure it out with any reliability.
Coolie bananas. Some of the quartz looks like garnet. Actually, we saw some beautiful rock that we bought home samples of from I Break for Bedrock's claim that had gorgeous olivine. Looks like olivine crystals in it. Very pretty stuff. And some other really pretty red that may well be garnet.
Well, yeah, but Chris, how well does XRF work on low-grade gold with lots of other mineralization? That's the question. I know I once had a guy from Bruker come over here and test one of his stuff on my samples. He was finding an ounce to the ton platinum and everything. And needless to say, there was not an ounce to the ton platinum in anything. Obviously, an interference.
I don't know, Dee Dee, if Quartzsite is canceled this year, but I know Tucson is because our mayor is absolutely ridiculous. The rodeo's canceled this year, too.
Yeah.
Matt McCursey says, I've heard about using magnetics in gold recovery. Some people use the anti-magnetic properties of gold in conjunction with magnet bars and more comprehensive strategies to extract gold.
Well, generally, you'd use the magnetic properties of the magnetics to remove them from the gold. They're gonna concentrate with the gold via density processes, and then they're easily separated from the gold using the magnetic properties. That's all I'm aware of, although I am testing a thing where I'm using a bed of magnetics to try and trap the gold, then take the bed, and then it's easy, again, to separate the gold from the magnetics. Seems to be showing some promise.
By the way.
Pardon? Oh, yeah. I just thought, what the hell? Let's give it a shot. I'll bet you it'll work.
And Chris
And
points
it
out
did.
for XRF to give a useful result other than surface mineral ID, you need to homogenize the sample and make a puck.
Yeah. No, he didn't seem to think that.
And Zio points out, I worked for a mining company running a large XRF for a summer. We had to use helium shielding gas to get accurate results. That's
Yeah. Yeah, it's just gold slows down in a magnetic environment, huh? Interesting. I presume it's a pretty strong magnetic field.
I'll look for what I can find right now on quartzite, Dee Dee.
Okay. Yeah, XRF is a great technology when it works, you know. But again, it's like metal detectors are great, you know, for finding coins, but for finding disseminated high-grade gold in rock, not so well. You know, for finding buried river channels, you can use geomagnetic surveying to find the black sand deposits. It shows you where the pay streaks are. Not bad. And subsurface interface radar can do a lot. There's things, but just something you can pick up and point it at a rock and tell you what's in it. They don't have that down at this point that I know of yet. Interesting, Zox. That might be good for a cleanup methodology too.
Danny mentions metal detectors, if you want to read his comment.
Yeah, I'm reading. Yeah, Pat. The question is, what resolution? I mean, can you take your ordinary 1 ounce to the ton ore and say, yep, that's an ounce to the ton? Or can you find the occasional little gold specimen in the rock, is my question.
Bear, what did we do with that bucket of samples from I Break for Bedrock that's got those cool rocks in it? The ones I chose.
The cool rocks, didn't I bring them in and put them on your desk?
No, because I bought home ones that had the olivine in them.
I don't know.
Let me see if they're over here.
Message retracted. Wow.
Yes, here it is. This is the one that's got the olivine and the red banding in it, and also has some of the silvery stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I told you I put it on your list.
For bedrocks.
Let's see how this looks like. Okay, here we have what appears to be quartz. I can do a scratch test real quick. And as you can see, it's pretty shiny in places. And where's the olivine little one?
It may be on one of the other rocks, or you may need to keep turning.
Yeah,
I can't see much from this side.
Don't see any of the green. Yeah, these darker bands that are shiny, that's almost solid mica to my eye. That's what I see.
Yeah, that's a piece of the old disguise on the site.
You know? And very pretty rock. This is the kind of quartz that you say, well, there's some mineralization there. That might be interesting. I did get some mineralized quartz float on the hike out and crushed it up, and I couldn't pan anything out of it. I just, well, let's see if there's the mineralized quartz has any gold in it here that's detectable, and didn't appear to.
You might have accidentally crushed up my piece of olivine. Zio says you can separate
Possibly.
materials by conductivity. Conductive materials won't hold a charge, then non-conductive ionized grains will be attracted to a charged metal plate. Gold would work.
Possibly.
Yeah, Chris says electrostatic separation works great at small grain sizes.
Okay, I'll go for that. Don't know. So I'm trying to
Not
work on a
useful in
lot of
low
different
tech or
things,
no electric
including
environment,
educating.
though. I mean, that's good if you've got electricity around.
uh, it's expensive and dangerous, needs high voltage. That sounds fun. Let's see. Yeah, the 16-to-1. The fair fridge, 6 days, putting 168-ounce nugget in hundreds of people's hands. I presume that's a particular nugget that you were showing off to people. I need to get a lot of stuff, Chris. Right now I need to get the Bago working. We got all the pistons scheduled for next Saturday to reassemble the engine. I bet if you change their temperature, the water. Now, in terms of the water viscosity, that's a good question. I've done some tests and I haven't really seen much change in panning of microfine gold. Because when I was up at Montana B, I was wondering, is this one of my problems? Because in the morning, I mean, that water's cold. So I actually heated some on the stove until it was comfortably warm. Let me call it that. You know, it wasn't hot, but it was definitely warm. And I didn't see any, and with the same samples, I didn't see any difference in the panning results. But it wasn't exactly what I call a comprehensive series of tests. But apparently the quartzite rug, there's running down the biggest one in there. Is he working on my Land Rover Discovery front bearings? Yeah. Yeah, I'd say it's just that poor engine is, it's a lot of big parts to put back together. I'm so glad I got Jim to help me. Yep. It's going to be, a full day. If we're lucky, we'll get it done in one day. But first, we got to clean everything. I've had the engine towels over the top and the crankcase below, but I mean, the wind was really bad over the last week, so I got to wipe everything clean. All the cylinder bores and the crankshaft and everything, and then just start putting pieces together. I need a ring compressor. I don't know if I'll rent one or buy one. I'm not sure. I don't think they're terribly expensive.
Dee Dee's planning on going to Quartzsite January 1st to 10th.
Oh, cool.
Well, heck, maybe we can get up there.
Maybe.
Meet up.
Yeah, we shall see.
I'd like to see Quartzsite.
But I say right now I'm trying to get everything working. I got to get out to Ryan's mine. Let's see, what else do I got to do? Let's see. I got to build a splitter for a guy. Got to get the final report for the Montana prospect now that I got the final information. I got to fix a flat on the minor Bago 2.
Brand new tire.
Got to look at a number of possibilities for a gentleman. He wants to spend about 2 or 3 days just looking and sampling various mines, which of course means after I get back, I've still got to run the samples. Loads to do. Not that much time to do it with, but oh well. That's life in the real world. So, if you move the magnets, it repels gold. Interesting. Yeah, we'll see what happens, Dee Dee. But yeah, so I got to get that done. I would feel much more comfortable in the present circumstances if we were more mobile, and currently we're not. I don't like that. Things seem a bit unsettled. Okay, little one, why don't you take over for a few minutes? I need to visit the other room here.
I'll be right back, guys. I just want to see something on this rock under my light.
Thank you for the rock, Tom.
Hi, guys. Yeah, Zio, we haven't had a chance to do much with flotation yet. Bear is working more on gravity separation at the moment, and his equipment is really getting kind of interesting. At least he's moved away from the table into something more compact and more low tech. He's focusing on low tech because it's really helpful in terms of permitting. It's helpful in terms of middle of nowhere stuff, and it's helpful. Huh? Chris is working on flotation, though, which is cool. Chris is like working on all kinds of stuff because he's this mad scientist, dude. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, how is everybody tonight? Yeah. Well, flotation does sound interesting. I mean, I don't have an objection to it. But that's more a Bear thing than a me thing. I'm more a crystal person. I'm not a gold person. I'm just not really, believe it or not, all that interested in gold. Sorry, guys. You know, I like Dee Dee's rose quartz far more than I worry about gold. But that's just me. Wow, a geophysics final. That's pretty cool, Zio. I bet Bear would enjoy something like that if he had the time and the money. Yeah, you probably would do well in it, Bear. You do well in everything. We've basically been canning, and I have been playing with my new Kindle and loading all kinds of books on it so I can pack up our physical books and make them go away. We're trying to declutter the house right now. That's my job. I need to declutter things. That's just a thing. And here comes my bear again. I'm going to put my rock back so it doesn't go away. Mine.
Chocolate. Anyhow, so where are we at here?
They're discussing geophysics. That's where they are.
Yep.
Winging and Tracy says, if nothing else works out, I have a 98 350 engine roller cam, one piece rear main.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have at least one good geophysicist here. Absolutely.
Yeah, we can blame them for everything.
Oh.
Hey,
I really wish
is a place to start. That's fine.
I'd really like to get a good class on mineralogy for, like about 1 year worth of mineralogy would be nice. And it'd be nice to get, like about a year of geology with a focus on orogenesis,
because I'm woefully undereducated. Unfortunately, I'm also old, so that makes it a problem. Well, no, I'm old and poor and undereducated. Put the three together, it's not a good combination. You know, it makes it hard to get more knowledge.
I'm just reading on the Donald right now. So
Yeah.
don't mind me.
Metallic cord. Yeah, there you go. Well, that for everyone else out there, what was that? Ore Bodies 101. There was a series of videos on YouTube. Gosh, I forget the name it was. It's like, I don't think it was ore bodies per se, but it might have been.
Zentners, I believe.
I don't think it was Zentner. No, it was a guy that he was more like he was involved in promoting large projects and stuff, and so he was look it up if you could on YouTube when you get a chance, little one. It was really good because he was just giving a general overview of ore deposits or something like that, 101, of like 7 major different kinds of ore deposit formation. It was really nice.
Zio says, I've got all my mineralogy class PowerPoints if you want a copy.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Certainly wouldn't hurt.
And Altman spent a summer splitting cores with a geologist. Learn
Yeah.
a lot in the field.
You learn a lot in the field.
Well, yeah. Hard Rock U at Outlook.
Hard Rock U at Outlook. We've got the audio visual thing here. There we go. There's my email address. See, we're getting all our fancy stuff here. Yeah, if I had it all to do over again, it would be nice knowing what I know now. I could have gone to college, focused on what I wanted to do, and then probably gone overseas to start with and get a lot of experience that way, because you get good pay if you go overseas. And if you're young and unattached, it works out pretty well, you know, and that would work out well. I had a friend in high school whose dad used to be in oil exploration. He had a lot of interesting stories. Says, for example, how do you cross a river in the Yukon? And he says, you take a local and a 55-gallon drum of gasoline and a pump and a chainsaw, and you leave it on the side of the river in wintertime. And what the guy does is he'll chop down a bunch of small trees and brush and stuff like that, lay it on top of the ice, cut a hole in the ice, pump water on top of all the brush and trees and this and that and the other that's laying there, and build up a layer of reinforced ice, and cut some more, lay it on top. And in a week, you got about 6 feet of reinforced ice on top of the river. Then you just drive across.
Altman says, one day we found a chunk of gold in a core. It went to top priority in bench planning.
Yeah.
And Rick loves your whiteboard. Yep. We have 4x8 whiteboards on the walls.
Oh yeah, I got whiteboards everywhere, but I say it works. The little clipboard for the audio visual department there. Yeah, you wait for it to freeze. Exactly. You start out when it's below freezing. There's ice across the river. You cut little saplings and stuff like that, lay all the debris on top of the ice, chop it up so that it lays pretty flat, spray water on it until it forms a layer of ice that encases that, and then go put more vegetation on top and spray more ice. And this in about a week, one guy can build a bridge across a decent size.
That Denny says he'll send you a
little
chunk.
river.
He just got off that claim I was talking about. You tell me if it's gold.
I'll do my best, Pat.
Yeah, Pat, we love getting rocks in the mail.
That's
Use the if it fits it ships boxes.
Yeah, exactly. So, but
We are all about getting rocks in the mail around here.
that's the thing up north. That, in some ways, it's so much easier to move in the wintertime because everything is frozen. In the summer, it's all just slush and water, and nobody can move.
Bog.
Yep. Muskeg. And it all freezes. It sounds like it's tough to
He
move,
sent
but
those
not.
lecture slides to you.
Thank you. I
I'm
appreciate it.
sure we will enjoy them, Zio. I'm gonna watch them too. I might actually learn something.
But I also need to learn more about this pocket gold phenomenon. Theoretically, I Break for Bedrock's been up there this weekend doing more digging and work, and we'll see what kind of information they've come up with. But as I say, it's just a phenomenon I'm not familiar with. Although it is nice to be able to get hard rock gold that you can dry wash. I mean, this makes the extraction process a piece of cake. Crush it, dry wash it. Wow, tough. So that part I like.
Chris says he was impressed by how much slime you fit in that box you sent him.
Well, if it ships, it fits. I had to, you notice I put extra tape on there to make sure it didn't come open. Yeah, I have to be up at 6 a.m, so probably take it to about 10 o'clock tonight if it keeps going that long. I need a little refreshment to go. By the way, the white is silicone roofing compound. We were up on a roof yesterday, finishing that up. So, in terms of plans, say got a lot of stuff on the burners, but nothing solid lined up for a long time period thing. But we should have lots of interesting videos coming out. If I actually get something solid going on, then it'll be pretty quick turnaround on the videos. Otherwise, I'll try and get at least one a week. I don't count the bacon one because that was just for fun. What state is a good state to start mining gold? Wherever you can find it. Out here in the West, they found gold just about every state. Let's see, New Mexico, Colorado, Montana, California, Nevada, Arizona, some in Oregon, some in Washington. Yeah. I know the Dakotas have some gold. So it's not so much a state as a particular location or area that either has gold or doesn't. All of these Western states have areas that do have gold in them. And take care, John. See you next week if you got the time. Yeah. There's been a lot of orogenesis events here of a lot of different types over a long time. So, yeah, it's one of those deals where there's just a lot of minerals out west here, and combine that with the arid environment to where a lot of this area doesn't have the vegetation or soil covers like you have back east, covering up. I mean, what's under the Mississippi River Valley, where you got 1,000 feet of sediment for 100 miles? What the hell's buried under all that? I don't know. Nobody else does either, as far as I know. But out here, you can see the bedrock in many cases, and that's extremely useful. You betcha, Matt. Have a nice evening. I live in Texas. Not much gold here. Yeah. Again, Texas, a lot of it's covered in a lot of sediment too. You don't have a lot of exposed bedrock in the West Texas, where it starts getting into the New Mexico area. Now you start getting a lot more exposed bedrock. But Texas itself, I haven't heard much gold there. Oil, lots of oil, which is a good thing. We need oil. Ooh, don't look at Zio's post there, little one. Do you see it?
Not yet. I'm writing something right now.
Mississippi Valley type deposits are really cool. Lead deposits, neat stuff. Lots of awesome fluorite crystals.
Oh, okay. I want.
Yeah.
Send me the good rocks. I like crystals.
Fluorite crystals. Yep.
I like all crystals. You know I'm a big fan.
I'm not familiar with prospecting for rare earths, especially with radiation. Although a lot of times they're in pegmatites. And not looking much for uranium anymore in terms of. It used to be for a while there. It was a big deal. My dad was working for the government, exploring for uranium for the Atomic Energy Commission back in the 50s. But that's kind of gone by the wayside. I think that nuclear power has an undeserved fear factor. It's certainly not absolutely safe, but the dangers can be mitigated to almost nothing, which is better than it is for a lot of other things. And there's no sense to be terrified of it. Yeah, poker face. The most important thing is just keep at it. Where are you from? I mean, where do you live, basically? And if you're out here in the West, then again, it's pretty easy to find very thin soils. Yeah. I've done underground uranium, probably more hazardous than nuclear power because of the radon gas. Massachusetts. That's where you got a lot of soils and vegetation. That's going to be more difficult. One thing that could be very useful would be road cuts, because a lot of road cuts, they get through to the bedrock where you can see it, you can test it like that. That might be a good way to observe the bedrock in your area there. Okay. Well, if you're ever near Tucson,
let me know. We'll see about getting together. I'll be happy to give you a little hands-on panning microfine gold. Yeah. Well, I mean, we can't mutate for the better if we don't mutate at all. Think of it as evolution in action. Oh. Oh, let's see. Do you find microminers exploring for uranium, or is that more of a deep pocket thing? It used to be quite common in the western United States, especially what we call the Four Corners region, the place where Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico meet. It's the only place in the United States where four states actually touch each other. And it was okay for micromining because they could mine the ore and haul it to a processing plant, and the government was kind of subsidizing the whole thing, providing a good price for uranium to encourage the whole idea. So it worked well then. Nowadays, pretty much you got to have deep pockets. The permitting and such is pretty significant. Yeah, I agree. Uranium wildcatting is still a thing, but not what it used to be. Yep. So it used to be pretty easy to find small ore bodies and just mine it and haul it. Back when we had lots of smelters running in this area, you could go out and mine quartz that had gold in it, haul it to the smelter, and get like 80% of the value, boom, on delivery, because they needed the silica for flux for the smelters. So they got their silica for free and 20% of your gold on top of it. That was handy for them. For you, no mill required, just transport. It worked out well for everyone until they got rid of the smelters. Yep.
I'm going to the bathroom.
Zio, I know they started that a couple decades ago. They did a test thing up by Casa Grande here in Arizona, but I'm not sure how well that worked out. Do you have any information on that? From what you're saying here, it sounds like they figured it out pretty well. To contact me, email. Right there, hardrocku@outlook.com. That's my email, and you can message me there, and I'll get back with you fairly quickly if I'm in the internet. Sometimes I'm out in the field for days at a time, and there is no internet. But I do like to check my email every day. Okay, Zio, is it going well? Is it very profitable up there? Vertical project with uranium optionality within the same geography. I've never heard of a gold and uranium project together. As far as I know, the ore body formation processes are entirely separate, and as such, they have nothing to do with each other. On the other hand, things like copper and gold are deposited by very similar methods, just different locations in the same system to a great extent. So that's why they're closely associated. But gold and uranium, not that I'm aware of. Wow. In 2019, 57% of world uranium mined was from in situ leach. Most uranium in USA, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan is by ASL. Now, what he means by in situ leach? In situ means in place. And what that means is they'll find a uranium ore body in the ground. They'll drill holes into it, and they'll inject a solution in some of those wells and extract it in others and create a circulation of fluid that literally dissolves the uranium.
when they pump the solution back to the surface, they extract the uranium and recycle the solution. And that was, they were just starting at like, I think the late 1990s. They were doing a test project here in Arizona on that. So apparently it works pretty well.
Wow, 57% of uranium production is in situ leach, little one,
Cool.
according to Zio.
Apparently, serpentine and carbon contacts commonly deposit gold, according to Chris.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyhow, so that's interesting to know, because in situ leaching saves an enormous amount of potentially, first of all, environmental impact, but also cost. You don't have to tear up all that rock and move it and turn it into dust and process it. You just drill holes in the ground and run solution through. And if that works, you can see how it's much lower cost. It's not going to be as efficient in terms of total recovery, because the solutions are going to channelize and such. And you may want to work on some kind of fluid flow enhancement like fracking or something to that effect. But you can see it has much less environmental impact and much lower overall cost for the same volume of rock treated.
I have no idea about the oil and gold
Relationship there, Zio. Not aware of it. Can't think of there being a lot of oil where there's a lot of gold in my experience. You know, I'm trying to think of the big gold fields and the big oil fields, and they don't seem to be correlating. Even something like Alaska, the oil's in a different place than where the gold is. So I'm not sure. I know carbon will tend to precipitate the gold. I mean, that's what happened at Carlin. But aside from that, I don't know. Well, containing your solutions in the in situ leach is an issue. But also in terms of efficiency of extraction is a problem. I don't know what they've tried to deal with that with their modern directional drilling techniques. That would, of course, be beneficial to what they're trying to do. You might be able to, well, in some circumstances, if you have a fairly impermeable formation underneath your target ore body, you could maybe directional drill parallel and above that and then frack it. So you have a fractured layer directly above the impermeable layer, and use that as a collector, and then kind of minimize your groundwater contamination. But say again, it's probably still going to be cheaper, even if you drill a well every 20 feet than it is to mine it. You basically make a wall around the zone you're leaching of holes in the ground, and create a negative pressure and just suck out anything that gets between them. I don't know, but again, what is groundwater contamination and what is dangerous groundwater contamination? Had a friend who was working at Rocky Flats and the cleanup, and the government decided they wanted to reduce the radioactivity of the water down to below natural background levels in the area.
he figured he had pretty good job security at that point. You know. What does copper look like in rock? Depends on whether it's oxidized or not. The sulfide minerals are generally shiny, often cubic, brittle, and usually yellow. They look kind of like gold. Chalcopyrite is probably the mineral that's most easy to mistake for gold because it's got that same yellow shine to it that gold does. On the other hand, once those minerals oxidize, they tend to turn blue and green. Turquoise is a copper oxide. Malachite is a copper oxide. So that's what they look like. If you've seen turquoise, that's a copper ore, actually. Malachite, I think, is beautiful. Good, massive malachite. I think it's just gorgeous when it's polished. And what is your address? Let me get a pen. I presume, Pat, that means you want an actual physical address.
Yep.
Any problem with that?
Rocks. Yes, more rocks.
Any problem with that on this little one?
Nope.
Okay.
Bear is writing our address on the whiteboard as we speak.
So it's 1025 South Kroger, Kroeger Lane, Tucson, Arizona, 85745. And there you go. That's our physical address. And yeah, Chris, chalcopyrite is awfully easy to mistake, but yes, it crushes. It's brittle, and gold is malleable. And usually you can see the difference. Let's say chalcopyrite breaks like glass does. And as such, it just has different shapes. It occurs in cubes naturally, but the natural shapes look like a brittle solid as opposed to Chris says everyone knows where to find your stash. Yeah. Yeah.
Let them try to get our stash.
Yeah. If we're here.
Nobody gets my toilet paper.
Yep. We know how to fight back. Gold is where you find it. Not much here. YouTube is freaking out and double posting. Explain that, Chris. I'm not sure what you mean by that. But yeah, everything's getting a bit weird right now. That's for sure. Oh, dearie, I'm getting sleepy. Yeah, I imagine the permitting is tough with the in situ leaching. Imagine trying to in situ leach gold with cyanide. Oh my God. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying right there. Yeah, two of them double posted there. There's two. Yeah, there you go. See, he wanted everyone to know where to find my stash. Hey, they just made marijuana legal in our state, so the stashes, there's lots of stashes going to be here now, so not a problem. Yeah,
We won't be here.
that would take a lot of cyanide and potassium hydroxide. You are right. 1:53 p.m. Monday. Well, that's not too bad for you then, Rick. Maximum security prison, Victoria. Yeah, it's getting pretty bizarre. I don't understand how people think that society can keep functioning if people don't keep doing what they do. You know, the farmers have to farm, the miners have to mine, the sanitary technicians have to keep picking up the trash.
The TP shortage is real.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interdependent web. You just can't shut down sections of it and expect the rest to keep going flawlessly. It's not going to happen, and that's not a good thing. So I don't know what's in. This is the funny thing. In our state, the governor has gone on vacation. Apparently, he's celebrating his anniversary or something, leaving the Secretary of State in charge, which would be the normal procedure, during this whole election hoorah fiasco thing.
And the Secretary of State is a friggin' Democrat.
And the SOS is a Democrat apparatchik. Yeah, this is going to work out well. Well. Yeah, well, that's in your state, Zio. Other states, not so much. I don't know. I don't know what kind of idiocy this is going to wind up with. Okay, Chris, you're right. Probably better stop before we get canceled here.
Yeah, we need to do some sort of a private exchange for this kind of thing.
I think everyone's kind of on the same page anyhow. But that's about all I've got for this week. So let's see what other people have. And yeah. Trying to think of anything. Say, we got plenty of suggestions on the mapping issue, and then I'll need to check out some stuff once I get the cadastrals right. I really think I do already, but I'm not sure. Would be mining gemstones. Oh, Eva would love that. A TPI can send if you need it. Any idea what a TPI is? Little one? Aries 458?
Oh, I have TP.
Oh.
Oh, no, we got plenty of TP.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I have been saying for years, we have always had 6 months worth of TP. I have been saying for years and years, when Armageddon hits and TP can't be had for love nor money, I'm going to laugh my butt off. Yeah. I was laughing.
Yeah.
And Pat Denny wants your address.
Pat Denny, you want my address again? Is that what you're...
Yeah, that's what he says on here.
Okay, I just see the word address.
I don't worry so much about spray and wipes areas because A, we don't go out much, and B, I'm actually not that worried about COVID.
Yeah, if placer mining gemstones is a lot like placer mining gold, because the gemstones are denser than the usual rocks. Diamonds, for example.
AltMed says, I serve the forest company with the surface rights board proceeding notice. That's cool.
Yeah.
And Zio says, near Helena, the sapphires and gold are together in the same layer.
Yeah, and that's why, because they're both dense.
And Matt says, are we going to be living on Mars by 2050?
No, it's going to take longer than that. Will there be people on Mars by 2050? Assuming the economy keeps going, I would say yes. And on the finding gemstones in placer gravels, the one thing I've seen is that you use a fine mesh sieve, and big one, and as you kind of jig it and everything, then flip it over, and the gemstones will tend to be on the bottom, and then you would hand pick them out. And that would be kind of cool. I'm sure Eva would love that. And yeah, there are sapphires up in Montana. I know there's a couple places that they're commercially
I want to go
mined.
back to Montana.
Yes, she wants to go back to Montana. We're working on getting the truck fixed. A Saruga. You would know what it's called, Chris. Chris is so knowledgeable about so
Hi,
many
Lexi.
things.
Zio says hit him up when we visit Montana. Actually, we want to move to Montana.
She
I
wants
wanted to stay there. I didn't want to come
she
back
wants
here.
to move to Montana. I like Montana in the summertime. Not necessarily a fan in the winter, but I go where I have to go to do what's got to be done. You know. Lexi's saying hi, Eva.
Yeah, I know. I said hi, Lexi.
Okay. Now see, that's what happens. Is you're seeing it before I am. So I'm getting a little confused at times. Of course, right parietal lesion. I have an excuse.
Hey, AltMed met Elon Musk and his brother.
Wow. And you didn't take the job? I don't know. It'd be hard to turn that down. I love rockets, man.
Yeah, the logistics of living on Mars would be a little complex.
Oh, I'm sure it would be.
I wanted to stay in Montana.
Yes, she did. Yeah, she wanted to stay. She did not want to come back.
Chris, you aren't old to begin with. Bear and I are old.
Well, we are getting on in years. I'm 64. She's less.
I'm 55 and you know it.
Yeah, but it's not good to say a woman's age. It's impolite. My mama taught me to be polite.
Wow, Zio. Lucky you. I would love to find some local amethyst. All the specimens I have come from South America. Yeah, Aries, we've been picking up things as we see them. I've got to pick up some more cat litter this week.
Well, and the other thing is we just keep topped off too. I mean, we've got, let's call it a surge supply or whatever, but the main stuff we just leave. And if we have to, it can leave with us.
Oh, Zio, that's cool. A state park, huh? Bear, I know we got to find that. We got to go to that state park when we go back up to Montana.
Well, maybe if Zio would tell us the name, we could.
Rick, yeah. Be polite or duck. I don't care if anybody knows I'm old. I don't celebrate my birthday anyway. I canceled it due to lack of interest long ago. Near Dillon. I know where that is. Crystal Park. Cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we drove right by there on the way up to Helena. Well, it depends on how fast you have to rotate the stock as to what it is. You know, canned goods, they say 2 years, but you know, it'll last longer than that. It loses some of the nutrition, but it'll still fill your stomach
We
and keep you
rotate
alive.
it well. Bear eats enough for 2 of me.
Most of the time. Hot Springs
Hi,
nearby.
break for bedrock. Hi.
Hey, is this Adam or Wayne? Wade, not Wayne. Wade. How did it go this weekend up there? Did you get more interesting information?
It's Adam.
Hey, Adam.
Hey, Adam. I loved your claim. I had a wonderful time.
Yep. I think that last little narrow spot, the minor bago would not make it through, but the Jason's vehicle did, no problem. And Jason's a little inexperienced for that level of four-wheeling, but we did okay.
What vehicle is okay for prospecting 4-wheel drive? What type? Toyotas.
Toyotas are pretty tough. The question is, what kind of capacity you need and stuff. Nowadays, quads like a side-by-side or a sit on top, they have enormous agility, and can get a lot of places that have full size. Like, I mean, I've got a 76 Chevy 4x4 pickup with a camper on it, and it's a lot more limited than say a Polaris RZR. But it depends on what you're trying to do and where you're trying to do it. But reliability is the key. And the other thing is always make sure you got someone in the real world that knows where you're going and when you're going to be back. And when I say where you're going, I don't mean this general area. I mean, they know exactly where you're going, so that if you don't show up, they can send search and rescue, and search and rescue will in fact find you. You know, they're not going to spend a week trying to find your sorry butt because you're 100 miles away. And the corollary to that is you have to stay to the plan until you can communicate with your person back home.
Adam left you a message.
You know, where? $190 buckets, you wild men, you. Yep, that sounds about like you guys. Yeah, I presume you saw my latest video, Adam. It does look like it is in the bedrock, but it's hard to tell how to explore for it. Chris Georgie suggested, and I agree with it, I kind of thought of myself, is do some trenching. Pick some lines, trench along the lines, and every so many feet is another sample. Run it, check it, and do it that way. Soil in one set of samples, and then the bedrock in another set of samples. And the length of trench that consists of one sample, you know, it depends on the width, the depth, and how big a sample you want. If it's like one full bucket, then it's, you know, not going to be very long.
Zio was out collecting crystals this summer, and the steering box sheared way up in the mountains. He had a sat phone, called his dad, and got out 6 hours later.
A sat phone is nice. However, it can break too. So you should still have somebody that knows where you're at. They also make things called GPERBs, which are an emergency beacon. Sat phones are pretty expensive, and so sat phone time, last I checked. But a GPERB will run you, you know, about $200. And you push the little button, and within 10 minutes, the authorities are being alerted that you're yelling for help at a particular location. It gives you your GPS, gives them your GPS coordinates. So that's, you know, a good thing to have too if you're going off by yourself. And needless to say, have whatever supplies and emergency stuff you need. For example, if it's likely to be cold and you're just going out for the day, bring a sleeping bag anyway. In case you get broke down, you need to be able to sit there comfortably and safely until help arrives, however long that takes. So be aware of that.
Yeah, Polka Face says, yeah, satellite phones and GPERBs and stuff are handy. 70, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're 70, then you have to use a little extra caution too, because you're not as resilient as you used to be. Trust me, I know. But, you know, you need to use caution. Everyone should. I mean, I think I was watching a thing one time, and they said the usual temperature, more people die of hypothermia at 50 degrees or thereabouts than anything else, because they don't think it's dangerous, and so they're not properly prepared. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, spot locating cheap works well. Had one on the dirt bike. Yep. I say there's no sense stopping living just because you're getting old. You know, if you stop living, that's called dying. And I don't see any reason to it. You just have to use appropriate precautions, whatever your age and condition is, you know, and just, you're stronger than most 20-year-olds. Good for you. I know some 7-year-olds like that. No, we have not been to Crater National Park in Arkansas, but Eva sure wants to go. Trust me.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris, that'll teach you. Yeah. Yep. That's basically what we do too, Dee Dee. As I've got typically about 3 months of calories on board.
And toilet paper.
Yeah. And everybody, I mean, we keep in contact with people, especially her son. He's a very responsible young man. He cares a lot about his mom. And, you know, if we say this is what's going to happen, and if you don't hear from us, send help. If he doesn't hear from it, he will. He's that kind of guy. So it's very nice having someone that reliable to rely on. Yeah, well, winging it. Motorcycles and me don't get along. Nothing wrong with motorcycles at all. But my neurology just doesn't work. I am not good at very rapid, very precise corrections. And you need that on a bike. You also need to be able to maintain your focus at all times, and my mind tends to wander. See, it just did. It watered. But yeah, as the guy we're up in Montana this summer says, some people do not belong on motorcycles. I'm one of them. But yeah, if you're good on a bike and you got a decent bike, you can do some amazing stuff. Yep, Zio, you're absolutely right. Although I think I would take it not blankets, but sleeping bags. You know, at least a 0-degree sleeping bag for everyone in the car. Yep. Right now, I don't do mining. In the past, when I was mining, I spent 5 years each at 2 open pit heap leach copper mines. The first one I was in management. It was a very small mine. I was the mine operations foreman. That meant if it had to do with heavy equipment or drills, it was my bailiwick. We did most of our own test drilling with an air track drill. The holes typically were 100 feet deep. Sometimes we'd push it a little bit past that, but I don't think we ever did anything over 150 feet deep. Chip sampling. I mean, we would just drill the hole and collect the cuttings as they came up. Drill and blast, move the material, build the heap leach pads, cover them with plastic, cover the plastic with cushioning material, cover the cushioning material with, ore. When we were stacking the ore, we'd have a guy actually spraying a lime slurry on it as the trucks would dump and get it prepped for the mill. And then my job was over and the mill took over. So that's basically what I did. At the other mine, I was just a heavy equipment operator. But I've never done any really deep drilling. I've done rotary drilling for blast hole, and I've helped with, they were rotary drilling like 200-foot holes, but nothing, not a whole lot of experience. Yeah. Okay. Good night, Adam. And yeah, Eva really enjoyed it. It's pretty up there. The road needs a touch of work. No, no problem. Well, that's just the way life is sometimes. And be interesting to see what we can find out about that over the long run. Let's see. Standard circ air drill. We were using, what was it? Like 1 3/4 bits on 1 1/4 drill steel, maybe 2-inch bits, 10-foot steels. It's percussion drill. It was an old actual air track, ran off the tow compressor, not a hydraulic air track like they have nowadays. And 100 foot was our normal hole depth. I drill, I think about 4 holes a day was my usual productivity on that one. When we were drilling blast holes, it'd be 20 feet deep, 3.5-inch holes. And then we got a rotary blast hole drill, and it was again 22 or 23 foot holes in a single pass when you had the bit sub added to the 20-foot drill steel. And those were 6.5-inch holes, as I recall. The 3.5-inch holes were on a 9-foot square pattern, and the 6-inch holes were on 13-foot square pattern. Loading factor was, I think, about 0.8 pounds per ton of ANFO, and 0.8 pounds of ANFO per ton of rock. And we got 60% passing 3/16 run of mine. It just shattered like a son of a gun. It was amazing. Thank you for the samples, Pat. Yeah, that sounds great, Zio. That would be great. One was a large mining company. The other one is now. At the time I was working for ChemGold, that was their first profitable mine. We had about 25 employees when I quit. It's now called Glamis Gold, and it's on the New York Stock Exchange. So I guess I was good luck for them. I was one of the first employees hired. There was 3 guys hired that day, and I was one of them. I don't know how much air we were pushing. It wasn't, whatever goes down the bore. It was running 100 psi. It was I think it was 800 CFM or 1,000 CFM compressor. Detroit diesel 8V78. Standard thing. And no, wasn't getting blasted in the face when I found a soft spot. I often had to case the holes. We had like a 3.5-inch ring drill steel, and I would drive that down. We had some short ones, and we had a short one, like a 4 or 5 footer, and we had a 10 footer with ring bits on them, and drive those down until they were, basically sticking out of the ground this much. Put a little dust collector deflector on top of that, and then just put the drill steel through that, and that would case the hole. And then when I was done drilling, I'd pull that out and case the next hole. So not a problem. Yeah, pretty much a standard compressor. Yeah, little standard tow compressor. The trick is getting good control of the blast. When we started our production blasting, I took out 4 shots, about 20,000 tons a shot, each one with elastro holes 20 feet from a 2-inch plastic pipe on the ground before I put 1 hole in the plastic pipe. That was good directional control of the blast. And the most scary was when we were blasting in the excavation for a new pond next to the mill building. And I mean, it was 40, the edge of the pond was 40 feet from the mill building. It was hard basalt. And we were taking it down to 20 foot of depth. And so when you're trying to blast that basalt as you're coming up the slope, you get some pretty shallow holes. So what I did was I put them on a little tighter spacing and stemmed them a little more. And I sheared the plane that needed to be fragmented. But there was one rock on top of there that didn't break up very much. Luckily, a 992A loader could push it. Couldn't pick it up, but it could push it. And the guy managed to push it out of the way where we used it for riprap on a flood control channel. But yeah, that was a little spooky because that's awfully close to the mill. And there's a lot of plumbing sitting out there and everything. And not the kind of depth of holes I'd like to get proper containment on. Yeah. Why don't I start a mining company? Well, first of all, I don't want a big mining company. Okay. Now, I have no problem at all working a small mine in a management or a part ownership position, preferably just like a management or a consultancy position. I like doing different things. Every project is a puzzle. There's a lot of different factors, the ore body, what the size, the shape, the grade, the form the gold comes in, what it takes to get the gold out. You've got all the different restrictions, such as what's your water supply, access, power, all these different things. And you have to put it all together into something that actually makes money. So that's the thing. Once it gets to be routine, or everybody's doing the same thing every day, to me, it gets kind of boring. And I like to do other stuff. At age 64, I want to live what I can before I die, before I get too old to really enjoy it. We've got a guy, for example, right now in Zimbabwe that theoretically sometime in the not too distant future may call me up and say, hey, could you and Eva come on over here for 2 or 3 or 6 months or something and help out with a bunch of artisanal scale mining? And so we go to Africa for months. To me, that's fun. That's living. And yes, you give up some security, but I'm not afraid of dying. Eva's not afraid of dying. So security isn't our number one consideration. Living is. And that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm having fun helping people and like that. When it comes to the larger mines, I'm just going to be a little cog and a not really important one either, because there's people that spent their youth getting much better educated than I did that fill the needs of a big mining company better than I possibly can. So that's fine. My dad, he did the stuff. Unfortunately, he died when I was 1.5 years old, but yeah, he could work with big mining companies. Anyhow. Actually, this stuff wasn't columnar basalt, Chris. This was just massive basalt. Purple basalt, actually. Yeah. 3.5 pounds of gold. Sweet. 10 times of mercury and 6 small diamonds. Nice one, Pat. Good luck. That was a sweet one. But anyhow, that's kind of what I'm doing here.
Aries says monsoons have been next to nothing for the past few years, at least in New Mexico. Same here. Would you still recommend looking for new gold deposits with the lack of rain we've been having in the Southwest?
Doesn't matter. If you're counting on rain for your water supply, you're going to be very disappointed.
Well, I think they mean in terms of new gold being washed down from places.
Are you talking about basically
placer gold in the water courses. Again, still not terribly, if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. One year or the other doesn't make much. It's that one really huge storm that will really move some gold. Aside from that, it's just, fairly steady state phenomena. But I wouldn't worry too much about it one way or the other. It's not being prospected near as hard as it used to be. So, if people aren't digging up the water courses every year, you don't need fresh gold every year. How do you dispose of the mercury? Well, there's a variety of ways of disposing of it.
I think he's asking Pat how he disposed of his mercury
Yeah.
when he was cleaning up mercury and gold from an old timer's operation.
So you can do regular hazmat disposal, which I'm sure costs money, or say most miners just keep it. It's like, I'm not going to get rid of that. But anyhow, so that's kind of the situation, and I'm having fun. I wish I had one good mine somewhere that was it was steady state paying the bills, and I could test equipment day after day after day. Most importantly, I could have somebody else running the equipment while I devise tests and devise modifications, and then somebody else runs it for a day, and then we check and see how it did and stuff like that. And then get into producing the equipment end of the business too. That's what I really want to do. We shall see. That way also, if I die, Eva still got something she got a good income stream from.
Wow.
Yeah, I say in terms of the placer mining from the monsoons, you don't get that much change overall year by year. Any particular spot, a good hell of a gully washer can make a big difference right there. But most of these water courses haven't been thoroughly placer mined in the last 20 years. So year by year variation doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot. I don't know about Gold Rush crew. I mean, there you've got a bunch of Hollywood filming type stuff going on too. It's not photogenic, but I mean, I tend to be a little too direct at times. So, as I said, if I was going to start something like Dozer Dave, try it or whatever, the thing I liked about Dozer Dave was he kept failing. And it's like, that's how it works in reality. You got to keep going through stuff until you finally hit something. The Gold Rush, the first season of Gold Rush, I was watching that. I was going, oh my God, how many mistakes can people make? It was pretty crazy, especially Grandpa there. Well, I'm sure there's a big pocket of gold down there. Let's dig a gigantic hole in the ground. Kind of expensive. Why don't you hire Zong Engineering from Tucson to do a subsurface interface radar and keep mining somewhere else while they do it? And for $5,000, you can find everything out in a week.
Especially when you've got a short season.
Yeah. And things like, they were sucking water out of the creek. They just ran a trench into the creek and well, you can suck fish in there. It's like, just dig the trench up to the gravels. It'll run under the gravels, no problem. Trust me. How about starting a small mine? Would you recommend prospecting new land or working on existing claims? It would depend on the new land and the existing claims. As a general rule, you're going to find gold where it's been before. Now, you can go to areas that have old claims that have expired and just restake them. You know,
Oh,
you can go to an old mining district and find, records on old mines, and you might find one and say, that looks pretty good. And you check it, it's currently not owned.
So the term
So do
homeboy
it.
is racist now.
And something like that can work very well. If, on the other hand, you prefer the exploration, the field exploration bit, then you might want to find a good area and go out and actually explore it yourself. Depends a bit on your personality as to which is the appropriate and what your situation is. If you have an area that there's some indications that something was missed somewhere, go exploring. If, on the other hand, you've got an old mining district where most of the claims have been dropped, well, look in the literature. Does that make sense? I'm convinced Gold Rush is supposed to be a comedy. At times, it's not very convincing. That's all I will say.
But it is cool.
Yeah, the Hoffman cruise gun, that helps. But even then, when Schnabel was planning his new land, and yet he had to get across Tony Beat's property to get water, and it's like, and he didn't think that there'd be an issue with that, and he didn't have an agreement. Yeah. And I have trouble believing that somebody as knowledgeable as Schnabel hadn't figured that one out. Okay.
Well, they always show the same goal for the cleanup too.
Yeah, the gold always seems about the same size too, doesn't it? It looks pretty consistent. Zio, that is absolutely correct. A lot of good gold mines were closed in World War II and never reopened. And that is one of the ways you can do now. It says new land or existing claims. That would be kind of like existing claims, but closed claims. When it comes to buying claims that are currently owned, you have to be much more cautious. Because somebody's got a financial interest in convincing you that there's gold there, whether or not there is or not. So you just have to be careful. That's just the way it is. If you're not going to be careful, don't go buy mining claims. It's a guaranteed way to lose money. And okay, Matt, I'm glad that was helpful. Literature, the government has done a lot of research. The geological surveys or their equivalents, the Department of Mines and Mineral Resources. Those can be just if you pardon the pun, a gold mine of information, especially the stuff that's not online. One thing I found out in Montana is they don't have a lot online. You have to go to Butte and actually look through the papers. And that means that very few people have done it, which means that there's a lot more chance of finding something, overlooked because not too many people are looking. So yeah, if you're up in Montana, I'd go to Butte and start looking through the paperwork first, because that would be a good thing. In Arizona, most of it's on the internet. Sweet, Zio. That's what you need to do then for Zio. Is go look at that information, because that is not readily accessible to the public. And cross-reference good old mines, especially ones that were shut down for World War II, against currently owned claims. And the ones that are in A but not B are definitely worth looking at. Absolutely. I say, and when we were up there, we went through 6 properties before we found one that had some pretty good indications. Montana B has some good indications. It's not guaranteed to be a big mine, but it's got good indications that it may have something of significance there. It might be big. You never can tell. But
Oh my God.
we do have some areas that have not been completely mined out, apparently. And so they could be further explored and see what there is.
All kinds of news.
Access and ground control are not hugely difficult. Not the best in the world. Access to the mine's pretty easy, but underground access, some stuff would have to be stabilized a bit. But I don't see anything there that was any extraordinary difficulty. How much decent ore remains underground unremoved is hard to tell. But there's areas where the walls and the vein, it's still showing good grade at the edge. So we'll see. Rick says that mine I was working in a stamp mill 4 to 5 miles east property was abandoned during, I don't know. It stopped, Rick. If it was during the war, interesting. Where did that stuff come from, too? Yep. And closed in the 80s. Now today it's being reopened because they missed a lot of silver. New tech helped with exploration. Yep. The tech can come in handy, especially geophysical surveying. Yeah, I agree with Chris, Zio. Explore the paperwork first. You've got a resource there. The war, and heading over there in a couple of weeks. Take the hand rover for a test run. It was huge. Check the tailings. Depending upon how good they were at getting the gold out of the rock, maybe a pretty big ore body just sitting on the ground for you, already crushed. Yeah, that's a possibility, Chris. A geochemical sampling program around historical mines or mining districts. That could get pretty time-consuming and expensive, though. I'm not particularly sure what you mean by the lost Adams diggings. I understand about lost gold mines. Some seem to have pretty good evidence, others do not. Not a real aficionado of lost mines, treasure hunting, things like that. It's truly a different genre than typical gold prospecting. The lost mines is more in the treasure hunting realm, and I'm sure there are some, but I bet you there's a lot more decent mines that were lost than famous mines that were lost. What are the indications in the paperwork? Okay, what you want to look for is a mine. First of all, you've got some production records. They had so many tons of such and such a grade, how many feet of drift, this and that and the other. Whether there's indications in the paperwork as to why the mine closed. Was it closed because of flooding? It was back in the 1800s and they hit a fracture and it just flooded the mine and they couldn't afford the pumps to get it out. Well, now you can buy pumps a lot easier. A lot better pumps. Was it during the war? Was it because there was a management or ownership issue. I mean, sometimes you have a mine owner that dies, and his relatives, his inheritors, don't give a damn, you know. And you can also have a mine that was doing pretty well, and somebody buys it and then just totally screws it up. So you want to look and see why the mine stopped and whether it was because they ran out of good ore or not. And good ore back then might have a different definition than good ore right now, too. So because of changing technology and stuff, that can be in it, you know, a very useful thing. Depends on what you're looking for, too. If there's indications of a large low-grade ore body in the, you know, 0.05 of an ounce per ton range, but it's fairly large, and they're thinking, well, we were looking for good stuff and we couldn't find anything except this crap, but they found that crap all over the place. That's something you might be able to claim and then lease or sell to a much larger mining company. Mining companies usually don't find their own claims. People come to them and say, hey, I've got some stuff here that I think you might be interested in, and they take a look at it and say, yes, we are. Here's some money. But they don't generally have their own field geologists frolicking out over hell and creation, just trying to find something from nowhere. Say they're usually pretty busy just chasing down leads people bring to them. So that's a good thing. Also in the literature, for example, Arizona has a book, Lode Gold Mines of Arizona, put out by the Arizona Department of Mines and Mineral Resources. Well, that's a really good starting point to say, okay, where were the big, you know, the producing mines in this state? And then once you know where they were, then you can, you know, like maybe refine your search to certain areas or mining district. Depends on how they've got it categorized in the records. In Arizona, for example, they have it by section. And if you go to a section, you say, what records do you have on this section? And they'll have every single report they have that's on a mine in that section. Anything from geologic reports that were done for mining, you know, for companies that were trying to sell mines or promote mines, all the way down to visits by mine inspectors to operating mines. And, you know, what did he find this day? And what did he find that day? And we're talking little mines too. You know, there's one I know of that there's one guy operating it. You know, and there was a list about, you know, about a page where the guy said, you know, been here on this date, the guy wasn't there. Been here on this date, he wasn't there. I've been here on this date, and he said this, and he'd been doing this, and blah, blah, and like that. And say it can be pretty granular in some cases, but you have to figure out how to find it. Yes, I agree, Chris. There are many lost mines, and no doubt some of them are pretty darn good. There was one up in Northern California. The guy said, my father used to work this mine up on this hill here, and you know, he paid the bills, and we could not find it because it was right on the coast, lots of rain, lots of vegetation. Could not find it. Yeah. Yeah. That's right, Zio. Other minerals can be very important too, although you're not as likely to be able to exploit them personally as you are just to sell it to a mining company. Yeah. Old newspapers can be very valuable too, although I don't know how to look for those. Again, it's not my thing. I'm so busy, I cannot do everything I'd like to do. Yeah. Tax records. That's another thing too. If it was making money, it was taxed, or the county assessor's office taxes people based on the value of their property. So they need to A, know who owns every bit of property in the damn county, and B, how much it's worth. So if it's a good mine, you'd think they'd know about it. Good point. Another thing, looking for old mine portals and stuff too, forward-looking infrared devices, FLIR. When you're looking thermal, for example, on a cold morning, you look out there and there's a hot spot out there because the air underground is warmer than the surrounding air. You're going to see a hot spot there, even if it's just kind of seeping up through the broken rubble that's kind of plugging the portal, covered by grass and bushes. The air is still likely to get through. So that's something there. Looking at stuff on a cold morning, you're going to see warm, and a hot afternoon, you might see cold, where it has no business being. And that could be a very good indication. Let's see what this is. Nothing important. But yeah, if I was looking for old mines in an area, small mines are hard to spot with Google Earth. Big mines are fairly easy. But one thing you can sometimes see on Google Earth are geologic structures, especially out west where you have minimal ground cover, in the deserts. You can sometimes see ground structures, geologic structures that are kind of hard to see from on the ground. Yep. Around old saddlebags near an old burned cabin. Yep, that could happen. Oh, what time is it here? Almost 9 o'clock, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Seems to be winding down a bit. Around old saddlebags, I don't think anything would melt gold that wouldn't completely destroy saddlebags. Yeah. Let's see. Anyhow, you want to take over for a little bit, little one? I need to take another short vacation here. Oh.
Me again, guys. Rick, the only time I actually answer my phone is if somebody calls me that is on my contacts list. Otherwise, I just mute it or cover the microphone, and if they really want to talk to me, they can leave a voicemail, which I will probably ignore anyway, because most of my voicemails are people that I don't have a need to talk to. Just because you want to sell me a scam, Mr. Nigerian Prince, or you want to buy my home that I don't own, Mr. Scammer, doesn't mean I want to talk to you. Bear, on the other hand, actually gets texts and things that count now and then. Ooh, that would be cool, Zio. I really love gemstones and crystals. I'm not a gold person. BLM has some records, Patrick. They have all the records for filing claims, etc., and people maintaining claims, but BLM's website is really hard to navigate sometimes. Like all government websites, it can be a little problematic. I find our county tax assessor's website and the county tax plats to be a lot easier to deal with myself. Ooh, Zio, nice on the blue sapphire. Well, here's Bear again. I'm going back to reading news.
Yep. I'm starting to get tired here. I'll probably have to
All kinds of news right now.
turn to the. I have to stop here shortly. So I got to be up at 6 in the morning. Do tiling here. Let's see. Set my alarm before I forget. Alrighty.
Yeah, massive amounts of news is out and about at the moment.
Yep. Are you still on? Yeah. We just sit here and shoot the bull and chew the fat and 6 other metaphors. Typically, these things run 4 hours or so.
If anybody has any mining questions, go ahead and ask.
Yep.
Bear knows all.
No, I do not know all. That's for sure.
As far as I'm concerned, you know all, so be quiet.
Shut up! You're perfect. Shut up! Yeah, I can get by with 6 hours sleep. It's not a problem. I mean, if I was to go to sleep right now, I'd get 10 hours sleep. So it's not a problem. I mean, I can stay up till what, 10 o'clock? It's only 9 now. Not a problem.
Socks has gone nuts.
When I go to sleep, when I go to bed, I'm usually asleep pretty quick. Yep. I used to, never get enough sleep, but I mean, I was always feeling a little bit tired, but I mean, I functioned for years on,
Oh, by the way,
4 to 6 hours sleep a night. Oh, really? What does he do?
And the Republican leadership in Arizona.
What did he do?
They won't participate in legally suspicious schemes when it comes to electors. They are denying there's any kind of fraud in any serious way.
Yeah, that's fine. Not surprising.
And Socks has gone bizarre, but then again, we won't talk about Socks.
What is the definition of milling? Milling is the process of extracting the valuable mineral from the rock. And typically that involves crushing and pulverizing the rock. And of course, a grain mill ground the grain, so a rock mill grinds the rock. That's where they got the word, I presume. But milling basically is the extraction of the valuable mineral from the rock itself, as opposed to obtaining the valuable rock from the ground. That's the mining part. Then there's the milling part. So milling in general is called extractive metallurgy. The whole process of how you get the valuable mineral out of the rock is extractive metallurgy. And that's milling in the more common terminology. When I say a mill, that's something that gets the gold out of the rock. It can also be a device used for grinding up the rock.
such as a ball mill, an impact mill, a rod mill, a semi-autogenous mill, something like that. If it's a device called a mill, it's essentially a rock grinder of some sort or another. Well, Zio, that's the technical term of milling. But yes, comminution makes little ones out of big ones. Again, it's a fancy word for it. No, standing around not doing anything is not milling. That would be loitering. Moving around not doing anything, that would be milling. Hi, Luke. Autobiographical, huh? Oh, a little late tonight, but if you remind me next Sunday, we do those live streams at 6 on Sundays. Sure, I can do a quick 10-minute autobiographical thing, not a problem. What percentage do you think the old timers did not claim because they found some good gold, and I presume basically they didn't want to let anyone know where it was? I would expect a fairly small quantity, because if you didn't claim it, somebody could steal it from you legally. It would depend on how remote it was. Can you disappear, come back with gold, especially a significant quantity of gold, and nobody follow you back there the next time? Yeah, let's see. The old timers, I was using amalgam placer. I'm not sure, Jeff, on what you're trying to say there. Are tailings worth the effort in general? Not usually in the United States, because they've usually been cyanided, and cyanide is usually the way to get them. But if you're talking about mine dumps, tailings are after they've been milled. It's the sand left over. Mine dumps, there's quite often decent grade in mine dumps. This is the rock that was thrown away because it didn't have enough gold in it to be worth milling. And so those, yes, absolutely. So I hope that answers both questions. In other countries, the tailings can be very valuable because they may not have the technology to cyanide them at the time. And so you can come in and with a whole lot less permitting, cyanide them and get the gold out of them. Best day out prospecting, not necessarily the most gold, but having the most fun. Gosh, Montana Prospect B was pretty darn good.
Oh yeah. For me, it's a tie between Prospect B for learning how to rappel and going to I Break for Bedrocks claim. Okay. Because I never get to see rocks when they're alive.
Okay. The other one, as a particular incident, Chris Georgie was there when I found my first picker, and that was really cool. Had a lot of fun, but I say when it comes to just really high points, Montana Prospect D was pretty challenging. We did a lot of interesting, almost radical things, and so it all worked out well. So that wasn't bad. I enjoyed that. What government agency keeps records? Depending on the kind of record you're talking about, the Bureau of Land Management keeps the claim records of all federal mining claims. In the various states, each state will also have an agency that keeps track of a lot of stuff. For example, in Arizona, they have the Department of Mines and Mineral Resources, which keeps track of all the mining information. So that would be it. Alaska has a very comprehensive thing like that.
As a general rule, there will be a state agency that will have a lot more detailed information than the feds, but the feds have the information on which claims are valid and which are not. Yeah. Found some decent value tailings that were badly chloride leached. And the best ones out of the car. See, training workshops in the coming video. Don't really have a workshop. I got a workbench out on the side of a mobile Mini. I make do with not much, but yeah, my backyard is not terribly impressive. You can talk to people who have been here. Chris, it deleted your message because you're persona non grata. I don't know. Spam recognition. Chris, do you eat too much spam? They will know how to file a claim and how they would figure out the location of it. Well, Dee Dee, in the old days, it was less a matter of, I mean, the map was an indicator, but the stakes in the ground were the definitive location of the claim. And that's because back before GPS and stuff, getting exact locations was pretty tough, but they would have, it's about 1,500 feet from this landmark over here in such and such general direction. And there's a, and then, I mean, they knew how to use compasses. It's not that hard to use a compass and, a measuring device of some sort for distance. So you can get a rough idea, and put your stakes in the ground. And yeah, it's still legally the case. The stakes are the definitive thing, not the description, not the map. The stakes define the claim. Yeah, mercury is generally not used anymore because of the environmental impacts. It's definitely not legal anymore because of the environmental impacts. Oh, and another thing too, if you do find old claims, leave the paperwork in there. People like to steal the paperwork for some reason. I don't know why it is, but come on, folks. Especially new paperwork. I mean, I could see if it was like, in the 1800s or something, that'd be one thing. But, I've had my paperwork stolen. It's like, come on, folks. You take care, Mick. See you next week, maybe.
Well, I think environmentalists may think if they steal the paperwork, the claim just disappears or something.
Yeah, you just got to put another one in next year.
That's just my theory.
I don't know. I've heard of Forest Service people tearing down claim markers, but I'm not sure. Yeah, and if you find old explosives boxes, leave them the hell alone. Absolutely. Yeah, I say it's just amazing what people will steal. They have no use for it, and they'll steal it anyway. They won't even know what the hell it is, and they'll steal it. Yeah, it's a pretty common one. Either mason jars or just a regular jar. That's a common one. Nowadays, PVC pipe with caps on the ends is a good one. I typically use 3/4 inch PVC pipe with a hole drilled through the stake, and then just slip caps on both ends. So you can just take a cap off, pull it out, pull the paperwork out, roll it up, put it back in, stick in this thing. That works pretty well. Yep. Oh, well, I hate to bail on you guys. But I think I'm going to have to call it a night here. Came across a claim order. You might be right, Dee Dee, but have you ever had anyone restake your claim after your paperwork was stolen? Yeah, that can happen. Yeah, you need to check out your land status before you stake a claim. 6-foot steel fence post. Yeah, that's not bad. I like using a 2x2 post with a steel rod, and I drive the steel rod in the ground, then put the post on. That way, if they take the post, the pin is still there. I have no idea what's going to happen to the mining claims, but they'd have to change the law to just flat invalidate them. So I wouldn't worry too much. Trying to get permits could be difficult depending upon how this turns out. Yeah, that figures. Well, they might have changed the status of the refuge. Again, the preservationists have been winning out on the regulatory battlefield recently. Oh. Well, I'm going to call it a night, folks. It's been another productive evening, but I'm just too ragged. You guys are still having conversations. You want me to leave the stream up for a little bit so you guys can keep messaging there?
If anybody has any questions, save them for next week. And if anybody wants to send rocks, you know our address.
All righty. You take care, everybody. Keep it safe. Happy prospecting.